Fashion is often described as fantasy, but fantasy is usually harmless. It reassures, it flatters, it gives the illusion of escape, while leaving the world exactly as it is. Surrealism does something else. Surrealism interrupts. It doesn't decorate the body, it disturbs it. It doesn't promise beauty, it questions why we expect beauty to behave. And when surrealism enters fashion, something very particular happens. Elegance stops being polite. It starts to watch you back. Most fashion asks to be understood immediately. It offers harmony, coherence, reassurance. Surrealism refuses that contract. It introduces delay, discomfort, a sense that meaning has slipped slightly out of alignment and will not be retrieved on command. In the early 20th century, Surrealism was not a style, it was a rebellion. A rebellion against rational beauty, against taste, against smoothness, against the idea that the body exists to be perfected rather than interpreted. And into this breach stepped a designer who did not soften surrealism to make it wearable. She sharpened fashion until it could carry it. Fashion has always claimed the body as its canvas, but most of the time it treats that canvas politely. The body is something to be corrected, improved, smoothed into harmony. Schiaparelli refused that premise. In her work, the body is not an ideal, it is a problem, a question, a psychological terrain. She did not dress the body as it wished to be seen, she dressed it as it was. Fragmented, symbolic, occasionally absurd. A rib cage becomes visible. A spine suggests itself. A neckline drifts too close to anatomy. Not grotesque, intentional. The body, in her hands, stops being a surface and becomes a sight. Traditional fashion flatters. Schiaparelli interprets. Where others conceal strangeness, she isolates it. Where others unify the silhouette, she interrupts it. A garment does not resolve into beauty, it pauses inside of it. Surrealism understood something fashion rarely admits. The body is never just physical. It is memory, desire, anxiety, dream logic pressed into flesh. Schiaparelli allowed clothing to speak that language. A clasp is no longer merely functional, it becomes symbolic. A motif does not decorate, it behaves. The body wears meaning, and meaning misbehaves. There is humor here, but it is not soft. The joke does not reassure, it exposes. A dress shaped like a body part does not celebrate the body, it makes us aware of it. It reminds the wearer that being seen is never neutral. This is why the work still unsettles, because it refuses the fantasy that clothing can make us whole. Instead, it suggests something quieter and far more radical, that fragmentation is not a flaw, it is the truth. It would be easy to explain this work by listing influences, by naming movements, by charting timelines. But that would miss the point. Schiaparelli was not illustrating surrealism, she was conversing with it. Paris at the time was already unstable, intellectually, politically, emotionally. Certainties were eroding. Old hierarchies were losing their grip. Art did not seek beauty for its own sake. It sought truth, even when truth was disorienting. Surrealism emerged from this tension, not as decoration, but as refusal. A refusal of logic that pretended to be neutral. A refusal of taste that demanded agreement. And Schiaparelli listened. She moved in rooms where ideas mattered more than polish, where wit carried weight, where humor was sharp, not charming. Objects stopped behaving. Symbols slipped out of their assigned meanings. This was not chaos. It was precision applied to the unconscious, and fashion, under her hand, became capable of the same thing. What matters is not that she borrowed from art. It's that she understood it. Surrealism was not asking to be worn, it was asking to be risked. To place it on the body was to expose it, to force it into the public space. A gallery allows distance. Clothing does not. Once surrealism enters fashion, it enters the street, the dinner party, the gaze of strangers. It must survive interpretation or refuse it entirely. This is why her work never feels theoretical. It is far too intimate for that. After Elsa Schiaparelli, surrealism in fashion could never be innocent again. That door had been opened, not to spectacle, but to permission. Permission for clothing to think, permission for elegance to misbehave. Modern Schiaparelli does not attempt to recreate Elsa's mind. That would be impossible. And beside the point, what it carries forward is something more difficult. The willingness to let fashion be uncomfortable on purpose. In a contemporary world saturated with imagery, surrealism risks becoming decorative again. Shock dulls quickly. Strangeness is absorbed, flattened, sold. The challenge now is not how to disturb, but how to interrupt attention. Modern Schiaparelli understands this. It does not chase subtlety. It uses excess strategically. Scale, anatomy, gold, shadow, not as ornament, but as insistence. The body is made strange again, not grotesque, not ironic, just unmistakably present. Surrealism does not age the way trends do. It doesn't expire. It doesn't soften. It waits. It waits for moments when the world becomes too certain of itself, when beauty grows obedient, when meaning behaves far too well. That is when surrealism returns, not to shock, but to interrupt. Elsa did not offer answers. She offered disturbances. Her work did not ask to be admired. It asked to be noticed, carefully, uneasily, without resolution. And the question still lingers. What happens when clothing refuses to reassure us? When elegance chooses intelligence over comfort? When beauty stops explaining itself? Perhaps this is why Schiaparelli never settles into history. It remains slightly out of reach, too intelligent to be nostalgic, too strange to be neutral. It does not conclude, it observes. And so the garments remain, not as artifacts, but as invitations, to look longer, to feel uncertain, to allow meaning to misbehave, and not rush to correct it.